to Red Ice Radio. Great to have you all with us, new and regular listeners. My name is Henrik, and redicecreations.com, of course, is our website. And today we have Leo Rutherford with us. I met him at the ARC convention back in February, where he did a very vivid, warm, down-to-earth, and funny presentation on many different things, primarily on the shamanic path, on shamanism, but also the connection to religion, Christianity, the Christian church, and their relationship to sexuality. Leo's working on a new book about this right now, Spirituality Without Religion. We'll talk more about this later on as well. I've invited Leo to also talk about some of his knowledge in terms of the shamanic path and about religion as the great fraud of the last 2,000 years. The website I'd direct you to is simply shamanism.co.uk. And he's also have a few other titles out there as well that you can check out, including Shamanic Path Workbook, also Torson's Way of Shamanism, and The View Through the Medicine Wheel. So I'm looking forward to talking more about these subjects with Leo here today. Welcome to Red Ice Radio, Leo Rutherford. Great to have you.
Nice to be with you, Henrik. Yep, nice to be with you, and good to be able to chat over a long distance.
Yes, absolutely. It's amazing, isn't it? The things we can do today with technology.
It is once we can find our way into it, right?
It's a little bit
for me, anyway.
Absolutely, it's a little bit tricky sometimes, but when we get it right, it's can be a fun ride, as it were. Leo, I want to talk about some of your, I guess, background a little bit first, in terms of how you got into shamanism overall before we proceed and talk about your path there. But maybe you can, kind of as a way of introducing yourself to our audience as well, tell us about your background and how you got into the shamanic path.
Certainly. Well, my background is engineering. And for 20 years, I had a 20-year career in engineering. Career is perhaps a rather large word for it, but I was for 12 years managing director of a company making tin cans, metal containers, to put it politely. And towards the end of the last couple of years, I became a serious stress case. And when I was able to leave and finish that career, I was in a state of a midlife crisis. This led me through a series of cosmic events to San Francisco, where I lived for 5 years, during which time I did an MA degree in holistic psychology and attended an enormous number of workshops. I was a real workshop junkie for a period, basically for re-education, figuring that most everything that I'd been taught to believe and so on, it hadn't worked. It didn't work. I set about re-educating myself. Now, towards the end of my time doing the MA, especially because one of the courses was 5 days on shamanism, I was introduced, through that, and then I followed it up with getting to know people in Northern California who were interested and finding some more teachers and so on. And I realized that the ancients knew so much more about the human condition than we do. It was like having my window widened and deepened through the ancient knowledge. And so although I came into it through psychotherapy, which and I still use tools from that world, my picture of the human condition is shamanic.
Yes. And you had a background in the Christian church as well at the beginning, didn't you?
I was a Christian because I was told I was a Christian.
Okay, yeah.
And I did at the age of 19, as a kind of late adolescent basket case, I got converted, quote unquote, by Billy Graham.
All right, there you go.
Back in the 50s.
Yeah.
And that was a 3-week wonder cure. It was all very lovely for 3 weeks until I realized that really it didn't work. It just made it was like living life with an even another set of rules, laws, and shouldn'ts and mustn'ts and so on and so forth, adding just yet another straitjacket to life.
Why do you think it didn't work for you? Because it seems to be working for a lot of other people, so to speak. What do you think made you different in that way?
I don't think it works for anybody, actually, but that's just a personal view. If you join something and you go rah-rah with loads of people and you don't think what you're believing, you just follow a leader or the church or whatever as leader, and blind yourself to yourself, you can proceed. Well, you proceed by not looking at anything.
Right.
And not dealing with your emotions, suppressing, and so on, which is what I was taught to do in youth, was to suppress my emotions and effectively to become a plastic version of myself, while my real self was hidden away under this mass of forbidden emotions. Sexuality, of course, being a big point of that, because adolescence and early 20s, one is is a highly sexual being, but with a massive guilt and no, shouldn't, mustn't, oughtn't. Well, like a lot of people, I learned to try and pretend to be somebody and something I'm not. I lived in dire state of repression, and it left me with an awful lot to work out in midlife crisis.
Yes.
I mean, that whole way of life led me to a massive crisis, so I don't have any respect for it.
Would you say that the shamanic path is more of an individual path as opposed to the collective idea of rules and this is how you're supposed to live your life, etc.?
Well, certainly, because the church gives you a whole pile of rules and tells you who and how you should be. The shamanic path gives you a whole set of tools to find out who you are. Now, what a difference that is.
Yeah. So why do you think that, sexuality has been suppressed in this way? Do you think that there is a motive behind the people who are involved in the church to in some way use and consequently actually kind of manipulate people as well? Because if you suppress sexuality, you get you're not functioning, so to speak, as a normal human being in one way. You become different. You can even become sick, maybe like you did in that way, that you became ill and stressed out because of this, right?
Certainly. Now, the people in the church know, because they are following what they're told, and they've gone into that for all sorts of reasons. Now, the people way back who set up the church, and maybe some within it, well, it's all about control. There's no saying make love, not war, but that you can reverse that and say make war, not love. Now, the point is that the two, you can't do both. And religion has been making war in all its days. You can talk about Jesus Christ as being a figure of peace, but actually, if you look at the history of the Christian church, it's been spread by war and blood at the expense of hundreds, thousands of lives.
Yes.
And if you look at Islam, well, Islam's a religion of peace, except for the fact that two sides of it have been fighting and killing each other for 1,350 years.
Right, the Shia and the Sunni.